Hello, YouTube. Hopefully we're live again. Just yeah, another little quick impromptu hangout. Hello, YouTube. Hopefully we're live again. Better mute that. There we go. So yeah, just wanted to do a quick live broadcast, if you like, or a quick live thing. And if Anthony is still available, I've just been arguing with Anthony again on Nathan's channel. Isle of Man stuff came up again. He still claims I've been dishonest. I have not been remotely dishonest at any point in this video. Anthony last has conceded that when he looks from St. Bees across in this direction, he's looking over or past the Isle of Man towards Ireland. So if he is seeing Ireland, for some reason he's not seeing this portion of the Isle of Man here. He claims because it's too small, but given that it's much closer to him, and we know that there are peaks from 250 feet to 300 feet in this region here, it seems a range of low hills there. It seems rather strange that he would claim that these are too small to see, and yet he can see Ireland, which is over 100 miles away, I think, in that direction. This is not possibly going to be all that clear, but hopefully you can see that this is a map that shows the contours in the area of the Isle of Man that I'm talking about. And you can see that there are a significant little range of hills here in this area. And I'll just zoom out to show you exactly what we're talking about. Okay, so that's this area here at the north end of the Isle of Man, and there's quite a number of hills. I don't know what the height for these contours is. I've only just come across this this site, so I'm going to have a little bit of a look and see if I can actually count the contours and get some sort of feeling for the actual height of the various hills here, a little bit more accurate than just waving a cursor over the screen. However, Anthony has accepted that the Isle of Man, he has to look past the Isle of Man, and I want to make the challenge yet again to Anthony that if he really thinks he's seeing Ireland from here, that he can very, very easily establish that by taking pictures from higher elevation than the 35 feet above average sea level that he was at on this particular occasion. If he went up just a few yards further away and went up the higher hill and cliff here, he should be able to see more of the land that he's observing in this part of his field of view. And he should be able to see part of the Isle of Man and the sea beyond, and then the peaks that he's referring to as being Ireland. There are also hills, the Lake District here, and I'm sure he could locate a significant hill to take another photograph from, where he should be able to see across and see the whole of the Isle of Man and the water beyond, and possibly Ireland from there as well. Depending on what his elevation was, he should be able to see. If the Earth is flat, then he ought to be able to see all of this anyway, and this is the point we're trying to make. If you're looking over the Isle of Man on a flat Earth, then you should see it. Unless there's some invisibility cloak somehow preventing this lower lying land here from being visible. And Anthony, has presented no explanation for that at all. So I'm going to have a quick look in the chat. There doesn't seem to be anybody there for watching. So hello, the 4 who are watching. And if Anthony's there, I'll quite happily send him a link. So The point I was making to Anthony, and I think it's an incredibly valid point, is if he can see Ireland, this would be an absolute death knell for the standard model for the size of the Earth and shape of the Earth. It wouldn't prove that the Earth is flat by any means, but it would suggest, or more than suggest, it would absolutely establish that the Earth is not the shape that is claimed, or the size that is claimed. And particularly if he could do it consistently, get the same, the same image, and if he could show that it's not the Isle of Man that he's seeing, then he'd have pretty incontrovertible evidence that would have to get taken into account in any model for the shape of the Earth. He'd become famous overnight. If he went public with it, he may not want that, but surely, if he's right, then mankind deserves to hear this and to see this and to know about this. Yet he seems incredibly reluctant to go back to here and to take other pictures from different elevations. Now, if it was me that had made this observation and I was convinced that it was Ireland, this would be the first thing I did. I'd have been back there the next day with my camera. I'd have been up those hills and taking pictures and video from as many vantage points as possible, in the Lake District, along the coast. I'd probably wanted to get on a boat and take pictures from the sea level, approaching the Isle of Man, and looking up. I might have gone up over to the south of Scotland here and take pictures. I want to gather all the evidence that I possibly could. Now, maybe that's because I'm a trained scientist, and as soon as you get hold of a piece of information that looks interesting, you examine it and test it to death to make sure, firstly, that it really is interesting, it really is showing you what you think it's showing you, and then you examine and test it from every angle in every way that you possibly can to really confirm that you have seen something genuine and that you have that you really have made some sort of breakthrough, some sort of discovery. Thousands and thousands of examples of this sort of thing happening in science. I mean, in my own field of molecular genetics, there was a case. It's back in the 70s now. It was back in the 70s that people discovered that there were what were effectively thought to be junk bits of DNA in the middle of genes, and this was completely unexpected discovery. Bacterial genes don't have these; they're called introns, but all eukaryotic or sort of more advanced, if you like, organisms do have these introns in their genes. And when this was first discovered, the people who discovered it, who I knew some of them, a guy called Dick Flavell was one of them. They first of all couldn't believe what they were seeing. They thought they must have messed up. They thought they must have made some mistake, but they kept at it. They kept getting the same result, and they examined it from every possible angle. And this was long before the days when you could simply clone and sequence large pieces of DNA. You had to do quite laborious procedures to verify that what you were looking at was actually what was going on. And finally, they actually really nailed it down and confirmed it, and confirmed that introns do exist in eukaryotic DNA. That sort of thing goes on in science all the time. Now, if Anthony really has made an observation of Ireland from St. Bees, then the thing to do is to not publish a hazy, fuzzy video where you're making false claims about where the Isle of Man is, what your line of sight is. You'd get back there and you'd take pictures, you'd take compass bearings or and so on, to make absolutely certain that you knew exactly what direction you were looking, exactly what peaks should be visible from where you're looking. You gather all the evidence possible. and then present your case. You know, once you've examined it and established what you're claiming, then present your case, and no one can argue with it. Then you've examined it to death. You've been more rigorous than any questioner, any skeptic is going to be. But not Anthony. Anthony has one little observation. He's pinned his colours to the mast. That's Ireland. I've proved it. Everybody else can go suck a lemon. Well, just doesn't work like that, Anthony. And today you at least acknowledge there's a possibility that what you're seeing there is just the Isle of Man. We now need to establish whether it is the Isle of Man or whether it's Ireland. In my opinion, it's the Isle of Man. All you'd have to have for it to be the Isle of Man is maybe, depending on what the tide level actually was that day, at that time, maybe a little bit more refraction than is normal. And certainly over water, you know, the refraction effects are quite known to be quite often extreme, and very often greater than is standard, if you like. I don't like the word standard, and I don't like the use of standard refraction in these calculators, because the implication of standard refraction is, if you like, is that this is what you should see all the time. And actually, it's not what you should see all the time. It's simply presenting a sort of a general case, or some approximation to a general case. And what you can see with refraction varies considerably. Anyway, I haven't, let me go back to the chat here. I haven't heard anything from Anthony, who has other means of getting in contact with me, I would think. So never mind. If Anthony, you know, hello to the folks in the chat. All Soundley's there. Pathological masochist. Well, it's entirely possible. But if he was a pathological masochist, I think he would probably go back and take all these pictures again from different places, and then he'd edit them carefully to try and make his case, and mess himself up even more by doing so. Anyway, I actually have to go and do some Christmas shopping, so so I'm gonna close this little hangout bit now. But Anthony, if you want someone to advise you on how to test this hypothesis of yours, you know, I'm here actually, because I'm pretty sure I know what you would find. You would find that we're in fact looking at the Isle of Man, and I suspect that you realise that as well, and that's why you have never been back. Anyway, my phone's ringing, so I'm going to answer my phone. I'm going to stop this broadcast, and yeah, catch up with all you guys later. Soundly, if you're still there, your latest video is great, mate. Fantastic stuff, and yeah, they don't seem to want to talk about it very much on Flat Earth, which is interesting. See you later, guys.